Hello, it's John Lord here, sort of having woken up from hibernation. We're nearly at the end of April, but we've had very little good weather in April and very little good weather in March. Everything is behind, so finally stuff is starting to take off. And the thing about it is, when the plants start taking off, so do the weeds. Now, we just look at this hedge before we start. That was cut yesterday. It's a laurel hedge. And it's very important when you're cutting a hedge. A hedge is meant to look unnatural. It's meant to look straight. And the reason for that is because it's man-made and you're not trying to pretend it's other than that. And you have a very straight hedge, very perfect hedge, and then your loose planting shows up so much better against that. Like the way you could have a very abstract painting, a very loose painting, and you have a very rigid frame around it, and one shows off to the other. So always with a hedge, you're in control. And sometimes with a hedge you have to cut it extra hard, because a hedge will never grow the way you want it, it will grow the way it wants it. Okay, that's hedges. Now we look here, over here, everything's been cut back and there's not that many weeds, but now is the time. And sometimes weeds can look very like the plants themselves. When this is a plant got a palmate leaf, it's a very good geranium. Geranium and Thompson. It's a really good geranium. I can't praise it highly enough. Flowers for about 4 months. Lovely red, reddish colour with a dark eye. Really good. And in it we have creeping buttercup. Yeah, the creeping buttercup. And it's very similar, and a trap for the unwary, because what tends to happen is people cannot see the difference. We let this grow in with the geranium, and then they suddenly say to me, I have this geranium with yellow flowers. Well, they don't. They have a buttercup growing in with the geranium that has yellow flowers. And then they might say, well, why can't I leave it? It's nice. And I say, all right, but in 10 years time you're going to have a buttercup garden, because the buttercup, unlike the geranium, hasn't got much discipline, and will grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, because that's what it does in the wild. And here we are again, and we have a dock leaf rumex, and there's 2 different types. That's the narrow leafed one, but they have a very long root, so tap root. And the way to get it out is to winkle it like this. Use a fork, because if you used a spade you would end up you'd cut your plant. But the fork goes in on only a few points, it doesn't damage your plant. And then you just do this, and if you're lucky, there we have it. And you see the way it's starting to grow strongly again. That's your dock leaf gone. And a little bit of, not a lot of weeding. Now if we put in a new border which has got bare earth will have every weed in the sun, every annual weed in the sun will grow in bare earth. So we put bark on it, and maybe 3 or 4 years later we might put a bit more bark on it again. But the bark cuts about 90% of the weeds down, or maybe even more. And I never use membrane, because I don't like membrane. A membrane, even the permeable membrane, it doesn't help soils to improve, because you have a barrier between the air and the soil. So I generally steer clear of membranes. And also it doesn't allow plants to run under the ground and come back up somewhere else, because the membrane stops them. Membranes are really only for very specific areas, maybe with gravel, with very few planting, with very few plants. Now what we finish off with, yes, this will finish off here. See, there's so much, I could talk about this border all day. It goes quite wide, it's quite wide here, and then it narrows to here, and it goes straight. So we put feature plant here, it's a straight up plant, and it's an upright beech. And if you noticed, it was on it had two forks, it had a fork, and you'd never have a pillar with a fork on it, you just have one pillar. So it's very important, make sure that you only have one branch. This will be the one here, and you don't have to remove the other ones completely, just remove them a little bit, because the one that's the highest gets most nourishment, because the plant always wants to get higher than its neighbours, so it always puts resources into the one that's the highest. So there's no need to whack the other ones away, just know they're there. Now this was as high, we cut this buddleia down. That's buddleia sun gold, and once again, if you have a big enough garden you should have that plant. It is really good, buddleia sun gold. It's a hybrid between an American and an Asiatic species, and it is well worth having. And finally, we're going to look at what I did here last week. if I stand here, exactly here, so you can see there's a bit of a depression. And the reason why that holly tree was here, I don't know why I put it here, but maybe at the time it was a good idea. Here we have a cotinus, and it was too close. The cotinus is going to grow at least out to here this year, because it's a very, very fast grower. It's cotinus grace. Once again, if you have space, plant cotinus grace. Okay? So we dug it up and we said, we'll sell it in the garden centre and we get something for it. And then when we dug it up, we just placed it here and we said, it's quite nice here. That'll be dark and that is light. And then, because we moved it, we damaged the roots a bit. And when you damage the roots, we clipped it to take pressure from the roots. And that was it. And now we have a nice little spot here for something or other. But that's me for today. Finished.